Welcome to Bare Bones. With your host, Danny Meehan and Dr. Mason West.
Welcome into this episode of Bare Bones. As always, I am Mason West, and we have my co-host Danny Meehan with me today. Danny, How the hell are you doing?
Oh man, I'm good. We got Bears football back, kinda. Like,
don't besmirch preseason Hall of Fame football. It's still football.
Yeah, sure. Or some iteration thereof. You know.
It is funny. I'm gonna watch the entire thing. I'll be glued to it. And
my wife already knows the deal.
Yep. And whether, who cares if it's fifth stringers out there, right? It's still exciting. It's the first football game of the season. And we get to see some interesting stuff, which we'll talk about, which,
It matters, I guess, a little more this year because it's there's three guys being inducted up the 6-person class who all spent time in a Bears uniform, and Mongo McMichael, Devin Hester, and who's the final one? I'm blanking on.
Julius Peppers.
First ballot, Julius Peppers. To you.
When you think of, we're going to get to that in a second. We'll get to some Hall of Fame stuff. Actually, no, let's do it now. Hall of Fame stuff. When you think of Julius Peppers, obviously as a Bears fan, you may think of him as
the guy who reopened the defensive window.
Right. Yeah. Do you think when most people think of Julius Peppers, let's say a Texans fan tonight, they're going to have them out there. How does a Texans fan view Julius Peppers?
He was a Texan?
No, he wasn't. That's the point. I just picked a arbitrary.
Probably I would say a Panther because he started there and he ended there with 2 stops in between. I thought I missed a whole year. Did he after Green Bay for a year in between there? Did that happen? And I just completely washed that from my memory. No, I think he's probably a Panther. Although I believe his most impactful statistical years were both as Bears.
As a Bear.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's definitely really interesting for sure. Because I'm the same way. Even though he spent time as a Bear, I still think of him as a Carolina Panther who had a stop in Chicago.
Yeah, and those powder blues especially. That's just
such a cool uniform for how
such a cool uniform.
So for you, continuing the Hall of Fame talk, what is? I guess you can almost say it in 2 different ways. Who are you most excited about making the Hall of Fame in terms of the player who has worn the Chicago Bear jersey, and who's the most impactful?
Well, it's
kind of painting you in a corner.
It's kind of the same guy, right? It's Devin Hester because of my age. I'll be 34 in 10 days. So, it's just he returned the Super Bowl kickoff for a touchdown when I was 16 years old.
Yeah.
Right? And he is literally the reason for rule changes in the NFL. He was too good at returning kickoffs, so they changed the rules. Words can't describe the impact Devin Hester had on me as a fan. So I always kind of just go to the 3-part phrasing of the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. Because for his one skill, he was. He wasn't a good or even a good wide receiver. He couldn't play corner, which was the position they drafted him to play.
Came in the league, yeah.
Yeah. But if you just said, hey, here's 10 guys in front of you blocking, go make something happen. He's the best to ever do it.
Let's take that one more step you're saying, because you're 100% right. He was not impactful. They tried to make him a receiver because one would think if you're that good at eluding and returning kicks with that much vision that you could be impactful on offense. How much of that is Devin Hester and how much of that is being saddled with, Mike Martz as your offensive coordinator? Like if he had Andy Reid as his offensive coordinator, could he have been a more impactful receiver?
I think if you put him in today's league, he would be, because of how pass friendly the league is. Like, you got to remember, the Bears were a really run heavy team. I want to say they were running nearly 55% of the time the year they got to the Super Bowl, if not more, between Cedric Benson and Thomas Jones, and of course the original Adrian Peterson. Like, so we could play what ifs all day long with him. Do I think in the right situation, in the right realm? Sure, why not? He could have been a really good wide receiver because the physical skills were there. He didn't have god awful hands, if memory serves. He wasn't like stiff in the hips. If anything, he was the very opposite of that, where he could turn and he could move and he could stop and go, and we saw that all in real time. But I don't know. That's a hard what-if game to play because I don't think he was a terrible wide receiver. I don't even think he was a bad wide receiver. He was just a very meh wide receiver.
I just think so little of the Bears offense at the time that he was on the team.
Sure,
and the
it was him and Johnny Knox
that were there. Like, the fact that you can go back to the whole Mike. I use Mike Martz because I hate him. I think he's a terrible offense coordinator. The fact that he traded away Greg Olsen, right, because he couldn't use him and needed a blocking tight end. That's why I just think, like, yes, if he different age, different era, different offensive coordinator. I use Andy Reid just because I think he's one of the best, head coach offensive guys out there. You could have figured out a way to have him be more impactful, but that's not what this is about, right? It's about how awesome he was at returns. The reason I asked you that original question that started all this is because also, right, Steve Michael will also be inducted, will not be there just due to his health, but potentially some individuals are going to say because of the time that he has left and also the impact he had with the 85 Bears that he's going to be, they're the most excited for him to get in because of, again, those two factors.
I think because of who the Hall of Fame people that care about the Hall of Fame rather are. Like, I think that really plays into this. Like, who do you really hear talking about the Hall of Fame argument? It's really the generation above us, like the Gen Xers and like the Boomers, really, right? So, like, we are just now starting to see the guys that we grew up with as of a few years ago starting to get in the Hall of Fame. Like, I won't forget, like, just what was it, 3 years ago now, where Urlacher got inducted, and then like that draft class prior was Tremaine Edmonds, and his pro comparison was Brian Urlacher. It's like, that's weird. Like, that doesn't really add up, but sure. Like, but I think for a certain segment, especially because of the lore that team holds in our city, right? The Bulls have a literal dynasty with the arguable most successful basketball player to ever step foot on hardwood. And we still hear about the 85 Bears. I remember vividly in that 06 Super Bowl telling my dad, I want this team to win so I can stop hearing about the 85 Bears because I'm tired of them. Like, they were done 5 years before I even existed.
I mean, take the Hard Knocks trailer. It did nothing for me. I mean, I was excited because it's Hard Knocks in the Bears.
100%.
But I couldn't get all excited when most of the clips are about the 85 and then also the Super Bowl Bears with the Rex Grossman, and not Rex Grossman, he was in the trailer, but with with that team. I'm done with it. I want modern stuff.
Yeah, 100%. That the Hard Knocks trailer did literally nothing for me. I was just like, I've seen all these clips 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Like, the only cool part was the winds of change are coming or something like that, or the winds are changing, whatever the tagline was at the end of it. It's like, yeah, it's cool.
That made me think, did you watch the Hard Knocks with the Raiders?
Probably, I think.
Their intro was really interesting, where it was very old school and it was like black and white film and grainy for and it had what I assume might be like not their fight song, but like some spiel they say, and it had like and the winds of change and the winds are a raider. And I was like, that's all it made me think of. It was like, cool.
Okay. So yeah, you have a more of a recollection of that than I do.
No, I just was upset about it. But hopefully the winds are changing. And you can see that by the fact that the Bears have a new, very expensive, but well-earned receiver. I guess I'm going to ask you, the first thing I'm going to ask, though, off of that, DJ Moore, 4-year, $110 million extension. Sounds like a lot, but is that even really a lot right now?
I guess not really. By the time the other money gets handed out to the likes of, like when T. Higgins get his money, T's going to get more money than that, right?
I would see CD Lamb, Jamar Chase.
CD Lamb, Jamar
probably
Chase.
Going to get a deal.
Ayuk's probably going to get. I would say Ayuk is probably the comp that you're going to be looking for, right? Like in terms of how that stack up. I would assume he gets more, but I'm not banking on that just because I'm Brandon Ayuk stan, fanboy, whatever weird terminology you want to use for him. I've loved that guy since Arizona State. So seeing him like come into his own really the past 2 years after kind of a hard welcome to the league is really fun. And he's earned every dime, whatever he gets. But what is he? But by the time it's all said and done, he's going to be like the 10th, 12th most highest paid receiver.
He is in DJ Moore, or he is in Ayuk?
DJ Moore.
Okay. Yeah, probably, because right now, what is he? I think he's 7th right now, based on annual average.
And Tyreek's going to get new money.
Tyreek's going to get new money. And we need all the people that are probably going to get paid. So yeah, 10th, 11th most, and that's just this year. That's not factoring in next year, the year after.
The fact and the resetting of the market. You and I have talked about this before on Bare Bones, where it's just like after this year, I was saying they need to extend it because the guaranteed money was going to be gone. Like this isn't hard, guys. This is how contracts work. We're seeing it right now play out in San Francisco where Trent Williams just doesn't want to play. Give me new money.
Man, that whole 49er situation, they're in trouble. There's too much money currently on the roster. There's too much money coming up with like Brock Purdy having to probably get paid sooner rather than later. They're between a rock and a hard place.
The Brock Purdy question is going to be so interesting going forward.
Well, because you just saw what Tua got paid, and he's done more than Tua's done. I don't think – I've been on record saying I think Brock Purdy is an okay quarterback in the perfect system, but he's perfect for that system. What do you pay that quarterback?
I mean, because Tua just got 52 annually. Like, if I'm Brock's representation, I'm like, he's been better. He's been to a Super Bowl.
Yep.
He hasn't crapped the bed in the playoffs. Our conversation starts at 54 annually.
Yeah, and that's a lot to pay when you're paying George Kittle. You're potentially paying Brandon Ayuk soon. You're paying Deebo Samuel. That's just offense. That's not talking about all the defensive guys.
Yeah, you're not talking about Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, and the list goes on. And when you're that good, when you're good, this is the problem you hope to be having, Bears fans, where you're paying everybody because the quarterback is cheap and your team is really, really good.
Continuing the thought process on DJ Moore. What do you think, if there's any effect that is on a guy like Keenan Allen? Dante in the chat, time to get Keenan's deal done. Do you think that has a direct effect? Is it an indirect effect?
I think it's indirect more so than anything. Yeah. Honestly, I've been on record and I said it on our draft where it was the trifecta of us with me, you, and Kyrie. I think he's getting extended, and I know the fourth is not the biggest investment, but he's still a 31-year-old wide receiver, and he's close with Caleb Williams, and Caleb Williams is not even played his rookie year yet. I would venture a guess of, if you see it, it's going to be a 3-year deal that masquerades as a 2-year deal, or a 2-year deal that masquerades as a 3-year deal, right? Or is it 2 years essentially guaranteed? You'll guarantee some of the money in the 3rd year, but if he falls off a cliff and the soft tissue issues Keenan Allen has suffered throughout the majority of his career rear their ugly head, you can kind of just get out of it.
So if that's the case, and not a ton of specifics, because obviously, like you said, reset market, all that stuff's going to be changing, and even by next year, I mean, where are you putting him in terms of payment for a guy that is 31, will be going to 32 years old, a guy that's never been an All-Pro?
Yeah, right? Does 20 seem right? 19, 20, You're not paying Rome either. That's the other part I'm factoring into this. And he is not the outside receiver we think of when we think of like the epitome of what he used to be. He's a slot guy now. Yeah. A very good one, but he does majority of his damage from the inside. So him, Rome, and DJ all kind of fit like a glove together.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Like, I don't know what a good number is, because if I say 20, you're paying him like he's a legitimate receiver. Because he is.
So, because right now, like, so DK Metcalf, his number right, 24.5. Terry McLaurin, 24. And, I mean, right now, Keenan Allen's making 23. Does he take a discount?
I don't know that he takes a discount, but I think he's going to hear something he doesn't want to hear. Age is not his friend. Injuries are not his friend. And I know everyone says, well, he's not as injury prone as you think. No, but he's good to miss 4 or 5 games. Because he does that almost every year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the last time he's played a full season.
I don't know that he's – I could be speaking out of turn. I'm not entirely sure. But I don't think he's ever played a full season.
I mean, that's entirely possible. I have to pull that up.
I'll pull it up right now. But and I also just think we really have to factor in the team that is going to be willing to pony up to pay him. Who's that quarterback going to be?
I mean, yeah, I think that's a very valid point on that.
Yeah, he's 32.
Right now, Keenan Allen's salary makes up 10% of the cap for the Bears, and DJ Moore's is 10.77%.
So, well, let's factor in then the rise in cap. I feel like even if you gave him, like, what if you matched his annual at 23 or whatever because that's probably a bloated number on the back end of the contract, right? The 23. I don't know what his number was. I would assume in the realm of 20. What if you gave him the 21, 22? So you're upping it, but it stays essentially the same cap percentage hit.
The only thing I push back on that is, does that then affect other positions you might extend? Like, let's talk about Tevin Jenkins. If he doesn't, the Bears told him they're not going to talk about his contract until the bye. Let's say he literally doesn't miss a snap, and he looks like the Tevin Jenkins we saw last year when he was playing at a high level. Does that now affect your ability? If your thought process is, we're going to give Keenan Allen 23, can you bring back Tevin? Seeing what the guard market is in this last offseason?
I don't know that you can, and I don't know that Poles will. We've not seen any indication that Poles really highly values the interior of the offensive line.
I think, yes, through what he's done so far through draft, free agency, etc., that has not been shown to be super important to him. But at the same time, the evidence of how important it is staring you in the face when you look at where the pressures came from the last couple of years, the revolving door that has been guard to an extent, and then the issues at center. So I'm trying to balance like what he's shown, and is that because he truly devalues it? Or is it that he's like, look, there's only so much I can do, and right now those pieces are good enough?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's the Keenan Allen's a weird question because I still think you got to factor in. There's a multitude of things besides on-field performance and age. His closeness with the quarterback matters. His basic the draft capital matters, man. Like, I know it's.
I don't put as much into the fourth as you do, I think.
Yeah, I think that's where the disconnect might be coming in.
Because to me, look at the most recent fourths that the Bears have had, and this is also short term, but at the end of the day, I mean, who would you rather have, Keenan Allen or what Tyler Scott has been? Yes, obviously, I will take even if it's a rental, I will take a rental Keenan Allen because it helps along Caleb and it helps along Rome and all those other things. Mm-hmm. Even if it was like a 1 year, I would do that 10 times out of 10.
But wasn't Tank Dell last year a 4th round pick? Just to kind of throw that at you.
Yeah, he was, but how many are there more Tank Dells or are there more Tyler Scotts?
No, I'm agreeing with you, but part of it is the ability to hit on a guy that's only making $900,000. You completely wax that away to pay someone 20 times that.
Yeah, I mean, and that is a valid point on that. We're going to take a quick break here, and then we're going to move on to actually looking at this game tonight.
Ooh.
I don't know why we're doing a break. We're not making this a podcast. This is silly. All right, we're just gonna move in. So we're gonna talk about the game. So, I gotta play the little sound. I forgot I had this.
St. Texas, ain't no hold'em.
So, Bears playing the Texans. Starters aren't playing. Briefly, we're gonna talk about the starters aren't playing. My short answer. Looks like Danny's figuring some stuff out. So
there you go. No. You were cutting out.
I was cutting
You're
out.
You're cutting out. Yeah.
So, Danny, my short answer was no, in terms of do I care if the starters are playing or not? What is yours?
So I'm always probably going to fall in the camp of I care more about preseason snaps than most people, because I believe there is a necessary callousing that goes into this game. I would have liked Caleb Williams to get a series. Like,
let me put the asterisk. I don't care because they still have 3 regular preseason games.
Okay, I understand that then, but I don't know. I think it matters. Reps matter. Getting used to game speed matters. Like, I get it. All these teams are doing the inter-team practices now, and we're using those as like the quote unquote games and stuff. You can't tell me different that when you put the actual jerseys on and you go out to play under the lights on TV, it's just different than doing anything you could ever do in a practice.
100%.
You're gearing up for a different speed. It's the same thing as, like, even on a much, much smaller scale for us. There's a difference between playing open run for basketball and playing in a men's league.
Yeah.
You're getting up differently for it.
And the pushback I have on that slightly too, and one of the other reasons I don't care is because how was it 4, 5 padded practices the Bears have had? So if they've only had 4 padded practices, and we've talked, you hear all the time, the offensive and defensive lines practice without pads is whatever. I mean, it's like the offensive line needs pads in order to get that vibe that they need. So I don't know that I need Caleb Williams standing behind, even if it's the starters, for whatever, a series when his offensive line has literally had, like, again, 4-ish, 5 padded practices to callous themselves. And all of what we've had so far, so the extra time in camp and all that, it's extra. It's gold. It's bonus money that you're playing with. I will be upset if in true week 1, week 2, week 3 preseason, if he's not playing, like week 1, the first game, I think that should be like 2 series at least, something like that.
Somewhere in that realm, yeah.
Second one should be a half, and then third one.
So while we're on the topic of offensive line, do we think Nate Davis is in jeopardy of losing his job despite the salary?
I do. I 100% do.
So do I, because it seems like, because we know the affinity they had for Ryan Bates. And Coleman Shelton has been practicing with the ones as center, and Bates has been there as the guard. And then you factor in, again, God, I hope he's right from everything that went on with his family member last year. And we know that's why he missed camp and whatnot last year for an extended period. But this is now, again, him not practicing.
Yep.
This isn't like last year, and this isn't like unfounded on him. It happened in Tennessee too, where he just doesn't want to practice. And I know we love to tout the Allen Iverson thing of we talking about practice, whatever. Yeah, when you're one of the 30 greatest players to ever play in the NBA, you can say that. When you're a middling guard who doesn't make a huge impact the way your salary would suggest you should.
When he was out there, it was still not great. It was fine.
Yeah. It was fine. So I just wonder if we're going to hear he's going to lose his job, especially if Bates and Coleman Shelton play well.
When you have a head coach that's a CEO, hitsy, flusy,
handsome coach,
that handsome flus that he is, all of that matters. showing up every day and giving 100% matters. All that's important. So even though Davis is making as much as he's making, even though if like technically, if you lined up and had the 10 best snaps of Davis and the 10 best snaps of Ryan Bates at guard, Davis maybe grades out better. The consistency, the availability, the availability is the best ability, that whole thing. And also continuity. There is something to be said about knowing the guy that is playing next to you on the line. Talk to any offensive lineman, they'll tell you that. And so if that becomes a revolving door, even if it's mini, whether it's a game or two and in practice, that is an issue. And like you said, there is a good chance that Davis just ends up becoming a very expensive swing guard.
If you look at what I Am Skokes just said in the chat, Brad Biggs just said, expect backup punter Corliss Whitman to play instead of Torrey Taylor. Don't love sitting literally everyone.
I don't get that. That doesn't make sense to me. Like, who and what are you protecting there? I mean, he's punting the ball, and then maybe if okay. The one thing I can think of is because the kickoff. If you plan to have him on kickoffs or whatever, it's such a new thing that you don't need him making tackles if everything just goes poorly. But that's but why?
Yeah, I don't know. Some like I said, I'm with preseason games don't matter to the record and stats and whatnot. Sometimes you just gotta play some of these guys though.
Well, and that blends into one of the things I did want to bring up when it comes to like what I'm watching for tonight, and that's what I think most people are watching for tonight, is going to be this new kickoff rule. So for those who don't know, right, you have both the two lines standing about 5 yards away from each other. You have the landing zone that the team has to try to kick into, and then the kicker is still going to be at the same spot that they've pretty much always been. The receiving team and the kicking team can't move until the receiving team catches the ball. If the ball is at the 35, the ball ends up at the 35. If it goes out of the end zone, the ball ends up at the 40 if it doesn't reach the landing zone. And the ball is at the 20 if it hits the landing zone and rolls into the end zone. And kicks have to be returned if it's received, again, in the landing zone, which is at 20 yards. All that being said, just for anyone who wasn't sure what it was, this is so brand new. You need to figure out what the heck is going on here. So I would think whoever you're going to have do kickoffs, which I thought was going to be Torrey Taylor, to be completely honest, wouldn't you want him to have as many reps practicing that against live competition as possible? Same thing with the returners. And I was going to bring up is Khalil Herbert playing tonight. He's not technically a starter, but he's going to get a lot of snaps on offense. He's starter-ish. But in theory, I know Bayless is probably the main guy back there, but you think Herbert might be the secondary guy back there. You probably still want to play some of these starters who are doing kickoff, right?
Yeah, I just don't know where we draw the line. Like, is Roschon playing? Because he's technically – or no, he's not. Swift is, but is Roschon playing? Or are you going to be seeing nothing but, like, Felton?
Demetric Felton, who I love Demetric Felton, but that's like the whole other conversation.
Yeah, but that's a draft crush from 3 or 4 years ago. Like,
don't unjustify my 2021 draft crush.
I will not, sir. He's his next. The Bears are a stop away. That's all you need. You need to change the scenery. You know the rules, Mason. If it's a draft crush, all he needs is a change of scenery and more opportunity.
That's all it is.
He needs a chance. It's just, I don't know, man. Like, is Javon playing? I don't think Javon's warranted not playing football in the preseason.
He falls, luckily to me, in that I don't need him this week because he has 3 weeks conversation. But again, that's just my personal asterisk I'm throwing on some of these to justify it.
Yeah, it's how do you make the reasoning?
Yeah,
because one of the guys I do want to watch play tonight is Zach Pickens.
Yeah,
I want to see Zach Pickens play football.
I would think he should be playing tonight. I don't know if he will, but he should be.
Yeah, there's a few of them. I want to see Austin Booker. Every report is raving about Austin Booker, which is always some 5th or 6th round defensive lineman that you're going to hear raves about coming into the year. But he matters.
One more layer to that running back conversation is DeAndre Swift's not playing. He's your starter, even if he only touches the ball. Let's just say the split is like your running back 1, running back 2, running back 3 is 40%, 30%, 30%. Something like that. Maybe you could take 10% and shift it here and there. Because I do think it's going to be a true running back by committee. DeAndre Swift's not playing. Does Khalil Herbert play? Is he startery enough or is he not? Same thing with Roshan. Travis Homer is hurt. Ian Wheeler, who I'm really bummed I'm not getting to see play. I had him pegged to make this team as a fourth running back. He's hurt. So you can't just have Demetri Felton only running the ball. So Roshan's going to have to get some carry.
Just going to run Demetri Felton to the ground.
Just wear all of that off.
For your service, Mr. Felton.
So arguably, yes, Roshan does have to get some carries because again,
But I would actually argue the inverse of you. I would say Khalil needs to get carries because I don't think his spot is guaranteed.
I still think Khalil might get traded.
I think Khalil's going to be a Cowboy before it's all said and done.
Like there are teams, whether it's the Cowboys are a perfect example because their room is trash.
Ezekiel Elliott's their starter.
You have, I don't think he's their starter. I think Rico Dowdle gets most of the carries, and then Zeke gets the just vulture goal line stuff and just eats in that way. But then you just saw Deontay Foreman got hurt today for the Browns.
Scary injury too.
Scary stuff. He got taken off on a board. Luckily it seems like everything's okay right now. Running back is that position where there's going to be tons of teams that want him, but at the same time, there was a period last year. Do you remember when the game where Kyrie Blasingame was the running back?
Yeah, I do. But I'm just going on like Swift, Roshan, Khalil.
Homer would be next.
Homer would be next, and I think Homer's interesting because he's the best blocker on the team at that.
He's the third down special teamy guy.
Yeah.
Velus Jones, throw him at running back, right?
I'm not opposed. They should have been doing that for a while.
Give him the Cordero Patterson role. So it's for tonight. Is there anyone? For me, it was going to be Ian Wheeler, but he's not playing. A player that I am excited for is Austin Booker because as of right now, he is the hey, hopefully you can become something on the edge. One that maybe not a lot of people are talking about enough is the combo of defensive tackle because right now, once you get past that first line of Javon Dexter and you throw Pickens in there, it's kind of a battle between guys, like
battle of the bums,
Byron Cowart, and then you have these two, an undrafted free agent, a tryout player, and Keith Randolph out of Illinois, and Deshaun Mallory. He's actually from Bolingbrook, I believe. I'm really curious to see how those two between Deshaun Mallory and Keith Randolph, if one of them can snag a spot on this team.
I'm interested to see Noah Sewell. Noah Sewell's an interesting name for me, just because linebacker and it's my brand. I am nothing if not a man of my brand. Other ones, I mean, I'm just looking at the depth chart.
I'll throw out Reddy Stewart out of Troy, I believe. Apparently, he's got some run with the ones. He's a guy that just is generally interesting at that nickel spot. Kyle Gordon obviously not going to play tonight. He's moved ahead so far of who is playing nickel, Greg Stroman. So I'm really interested to see how.
Oh, I mean, if you got your Demetri Felton mentioned in there, I'm just going to throw out a guy I loved coming out of Florida years ago, Freddie Swain. He's on the team.
He is on the team. You're not wrong. So another thing more deep that I want to look at is we know that in general, preseason games are pretty vanilla, right? There's nothing exotic. You're not giving your hand away, but you still need the bare bones, no pun intended, of your offense to look right. And that for me, that's going to be formation usage. We've talked a lot about that ever since they got Shane Waldron as our offensive coordinator. He used a lot of that heavier personnel, multiple tight ends. Do we see that tonight? Do we see, and this is different, right? Because you don't kind of have Cole Kmet and Gerald Everett. You're not going to have Mercedes Lewis. You're going to have Steven Carlson, Tommy Sweeney, and Brendan Bates. How much two tight end sets do you roll out there? Do you roll more multiple wide receiver looks? And is that even true? Is that what Shane Waldron is even going to do come week one against the Titans? Yeah. Is he going to be tight end heavy?
Oh, on a serious note, Velus Jones is a name to watch. Seriously, yes. I don't think he's safe, and I think he could forge a role for himself as like the gadgety, quick wide receiver, like who also doubles as your return specialist.
There was like 4 or 5-ish weeks last year, the first where every time he touched the ball, it was a first down or a touchdown, like literally. It's just that he only touched it like twice a game at best.
and then he started dropping punts and stuff.
Not to kick a horse when they're down. How much of Velus Jones's wide receiver issues can you argue could be tied to Justin not getting it through his progressions enough to get to his wide receiver 4?
I think that's possible, but I would wager it's also a football IQ thing. The guy was in college for like 7 years, man. And it took until the final year for him. Like, you know what they, to quote Tommy Boy, you know what they call people who go to school for 7 years? They're called doctors. Like, you know, like, there's a reason for it. Tyler Scott's another. The receivers are probably the most interesting thing after the first 3 because you're wondering who's going to be number 4. It should be Tyler Scott in theory.
And you hear Tyler Scott's name popping up a lot.
I love Tyler Scott, man. Was new to the position.
Yeah.
Every touchdown he scored at Cincinnati went for something dumb like 44 more yards. The guy, and I know a lot of Bears fans have given up on him, but I refuse. I saw too much at Cincinnati. And maybe I'm just too bought in on my pre-draft evaluation of him, but
his ball tracking definitely still needs some work. I'm a bit bummed at what
his hands need work.
His hands need work, and I know I just pooped on 4th round picks to an extent, but both him and Roshan, I was very high, and a lot of other people were too, a lot of smart football people. I'm just hoping that one more year, like you said, of football and maybe again a little bit of different quarterback play, and all of a sudden we see a little bit more.
And just another year as a receiver. He showed up to the Bearcat program as a running back.
Another person, too, that I'd be looking at is Colin Johnson. Apparently, he's been making some plays in camp. Gigantic receiver. I mean, basically played tight end for them last year.
You mean new Equinemius?
That's the thing. Can he be that funky tight end wide receiver hybrid? Does he have a chance to make this squad? I think he's really interesting. I mean, you're going to look at a guy, I'm just like naming John Jackson. I'm saying that because he's Caleb's bestie. Like, is he anything, or is he a practice squad guy? Does he even make a practice squad?
Yeah, Austin Peters could be interesting, the quarterback, because I guess he's been training with Caleb even leading up to the draft.
He was a guy that I wouldn't be surprised if you fast forwarded like a year or two from now, if the Bears were able to like flip him to a team, because he was a guy that really could have been drafted. It was surprising that he didn't. And he was solid. He just didn't have the big measurables and like giant arm strength that you're looking for, but he's a solid quarterback whose velocity has been shown to be increasing if you listen to reports.
But is his dad a world champion arm wrestler?
No, and he also did not, at least to my knowledge, do a burpee broad jump mile in preparation for this year.
Such a weird. Athletes are weird, man.
On that note, is Tyson Bagent locked in as QB2?
I think he's got to be, right? Like, I don't agree with it because when you go from a guy who just was a literal highlight waiting to happen and a bundle of frustration at the same time that was Justin Fields to a guy who literally has to operate the offense because he can't do anything else, it's going to look a lot different. But they literally benched him to throw a Hail Mary because he couldn't do it. Like,
this is true. Yes.
Like, there's just certain things Tyson Bagent cannot do. And that's fine.
People wanted Bagent to be the starter like all year.
No, shouts out to Mount Greenwood. But, you know.
I don't know that he's necessarily locked in. And the reason I say that is when you have a quarterback like Caleb Williams as your starter, like he's your guy, especially with it's not just again, not trying to poop on Justin, but a question mark of Justin. Do you need your quarterback? What do you need out of your quarterback to? In theory, you need someone that can win you 500 games, like 500%. And we saw that out of Tyson last year. Are we sure that if that's going to continue this year, or is there a higher chance that a guy like Brett Ripien,
Rippin,
whatever. That's how little I care about him, to be honest. But is there a chance that Brett?
How dare you disrespect the son of one Mark Rippin, Super Bowl MVP? How dare you?
Is it more likely that he could come in with this team, with these receivers, with this running game, and get you, 2-2 over a stretch where your starter missed 4 games?
I think it's an interesting question because Rippon knows Waldron from time in Seattle.
Yeah.
So he probably has a better handle on the stuff already. But theoretically, the learning curve for Tyson shouldn't be too much because he's running the same base of offense as Getsy was coming from that tree, which, everyone runs that tree now. So shouldn't be too much of a learning curve, but we'll see. I don't want to just say yes, Bajent's going to be the locked-in quarterback too, but I have a hard time seeing it the other way because of how admirably he played. He did play well in spite of all his limitations.
Yeah,
I think
last year.
But I think we factor in what a quarterback operating a system is on time and in cleanliness. We mistake it as being really good instead of doing what he has to do because he physically can't do anything else. Brett Rippon now, even dating back to Boise, he's got some effort to him. He'll do whatever the fuck he wants. Like it's almost like if you were to take Diet Coke version of Drew Lock, that's Brett Rippon kind of thing, which is funny because they kind of both played under Shane.
Right.
But that's like kind of the vibe I get. But I don't know that Brett's anything either. I just think he's here because Shane knows him.
A couple more points I do want to hit. We kind of missed this when we first talked about it earlier. So there has been that rotation of Ryan Bates at center, Coleman Shelton at center, sometimes Ryan Bates at guard. Is there any way, is Doug Kramer your starting center tonight? Or is Coleman Shelton is he going to be starting tonight? Get you a couple? Like, where does he fall?
I know Doug Kramer's not an NFL football player. I don't need to see him ever again. Nice kid. It seems like he's from the area. They cut him last year. They told you exactly what they thought about him.
And all the other teams told you exactly what they thought about him too.
Yeah. I don't need to see Doug Kramer.
So are you saying, is Coleman Shelton then your starter tonight?
At this point, he was like the 17th graded center in football last year or something like that.
Yeah, I want to say he was like 22 or something.
Yeah, like he was a representative starting center. Like,
I'm just trying to figure. At some point, you need bodies because it goes back to that question near the beginning of this. What is the cutoff of starter?
I don't know. That's the thing. They're like, no starters are playing. Well, define it. Because it's the same thing. It's like with the running backs, the defensive line outside of Montez Sweat, so far as I'm concerned, sucks.
And Andrew Billings.
Andrew Billings. You should be playing everybody.
Yes. And, that was another person I did want. Dominique Robinson. You need to do something, dude. Like
besides fall on the ground.
Yeah, you need to do. He had one sack his first snap in a professional NFL game, and then has done nothing since. You need to do something.
I loved the idea of him, though.
The idea of him is great, but at this point, I would much rather see John Marie Chroma. Like, I think I'm more interested in what he's going to do.
Sure.
Because at least he's new. And also, I guess Dominique filled out, which is cool. You're bigger. But, like, when you switch from quarterback to DN, like, yeah, it's a hard switch.
Yeah, it is.
All right, last position really that probably needs to get touched on is safety. Obviously, Kevin Byers not playing. Jonathan Owens is still in Petty watching Chicago sweetheart Simone Biles crush it. Got another goal today. So
you let the cat out of the bag, man. She hasn't aired over here yet.
She hasn't aired over here. No, she hasn't aired over here.
They're airing her gold medal performance tonight, I guess.
Here's the thing. Okay, so quick sidebar. I watched almost no Olympics this year, and I feel like it's a combination of streaming actually makes it harder to watch. Like I miss cable when I could flip between like 3 channels and watch a little gymnastics, go back to volleyball, go back to now it's like an effort, and they only don't show you everything. Like give me all of the gymnastics. Don't just show me what you want to show me. Like it's so hard and annoying to watch right now.
See, I'll kind of go the other way. I've enjoyed the Peacock experience because I can go find exactly what I want. Now I haven't watched a ton of it because I'm the guy who I just kind of don't give a shit about the Olympics. We pretend to care about these sports once every 4 years. Yeah.
You don't care about speed walking?
No, I don't. I don't care about shooting or archery. Or now that being said, I actually was just having this conversation in the group chat, which we're going off the rails because we're bare bones. This is what we do. Obviously, Simone Biles is the greatest Olympian of her era.
Yes.
Surpassing for me Usain Bolt.
She might be the best athlete of her era, but yes.
She could be. Surpassing for me Usain Bolt, followed closely after Usain Bolt by Michael Phelps. And you'll probably appreciate this because you were also a wrestler. The next greatest Olympian I ever saw, and that's only because I followed him through Iowa State because I was at that perfect age. Cael Sanderson was a monster.
Cael Sanderson was a beast. Absolutely.
He went 159-0 at Iowa State, went to Athens in 2004, whipped everybody's ass, took his medal and went home and took over the Penn State Nittany Lion program that is just winning national title after national title after national title. Yeah.
For people who have never wrestled before too, that don't understand how hard it is to go 159-0. It's a sport where you could just like wake up on the wrong side of the bed that day and you can lose a match. You slip a little bit, you get tossed and just accidentally for a half second end up on your back where a pin gets called. To be that consistently dominant is insane.
He won the NCAA wrestling equivalent of the Heisman Trophy 3 times. No one's ever done it more than once. Like, sorry. I had to get that in there because the conversation came up because I was actually going to ask you who the greatest Olympians are you ever saw. And I watched every match of Cael Sanderson. Like,
people, bare bones people, you should go check out Cael Sanderson highlights. Like, again, if you don't understand wrestling, you can still appreciate just how fluidly he moves. The strength to mobility ratio he has. It's insane.
84 kilogram wrestler, if memory serves.
I believe that's right. Yeah. But we got here because we were saying that Jonathan Owens is still in Paris. So the question is, is there a potential competition a little bit for backup safety? So Adrian Colbert, Elijah Hicks, Tarvarius Moore, all of those guys should get some run. Quindell Johnson started a game at least, one for the Bears last year. So it's where's he at with that? Mm-hmm. Terrell Smith, where does he fall? Is he a starter? I mean, I know they tried him at safety a little bit too. So that position is going to be something I'm also very interested in because at the end of the day, Kevin Byard's been pretty consistent in terms of not missing a lot of time, but at the same time,
he's ever missed a game.
Yeah, it's insane. He's ridiculous, but he's another year older. Does he miss finally a game? Jaquan Brisker played through a lot of injury last year. Does he potentially miss some time? So that backup safety position is going to be important.
I think Owens is kind of built in because he's also a 4-phase special teamer. He's valuable and he's on a 2-year deal, so he's not like going anywhere. They're not going to cut him just for the sake of it. I don't know. I'm kind of interested in Quindell Johnson again because, like you said, he did start a game. Tarvarius Moore, another one that I'm kind of like, maybe, why not? But it's funny that safeties are so really like the next position now, trying to fight for their big pay bumps outside of like the top upper echelon guys. But outside of like really the top 16, the fall off from in that position, once you start getting to the backups, is tough. But everyone's going to root for Elijah Hicks because he did push-ups after he got drafted.
And I fell into that initially, right? Because you don't know much about these guys. I didn't watch Elijah Hicks college tape really. Obviously,
I watched hundreds of these kids, and I didn't even oops into Elijah Hicks.
Right. So it was like cool. I like that video. It's fun. And then you saw him play, and when he played, it wasn't good.
No, it's quite bad.
And this is football. People get hurt. So whether it's and also going back to that kick return thing. Yes, you're probably going to use more linebacker types just with how this is going to look. Mm-hmm. I think maybe we'll see tonight.
Could be.
But your safety, your second string strong safety is still going to matter. And right now, I don't want it to be Elijah Hicks. So I'm curious who it could be.
Yeah, looking at it does show though how far this roster still is to go. Like it's getting better, but like the depth of it, there's still a ton of guys. Like if they get cut, like it's like I have no worries that anyone's going to claim you. Like.
And there's guys like that I like, but yeah, I like Micah Baskerville, but there's a reason why the Bears were able to get him. There's a reason why he made a practice squad and no one claimed. I think there's a reason for all these things. Like, I love him on the practice squad. I'm not worried about it. Quindle Johnson falls into that category. Amen, I'm not going to be able to pronounce his last name, but he was brought in early this year. He's interesting. I mean, you could do that on offense. Bill Murray spent time with the Patriots and then never really left the practice squad. There's a reason, right? So there's a reason for all these guys. Theo Benedict, I do want to say him. I'm curious what he's going to look like. I have no information on him out of that Canadian school
program.
Yeah. So Theo Benedict, also another name, just to ring it out there, because if he,
I would say Benedict,
awesome.
Probably because he's probably French.
Benedict, yeah.
Benedict.
But that's it.
Tyree Carter at guard. I thought Tyree was a dark horse to be the starting center at one point. And
I remember that time.
He just shit the bed and was bad too.
Just not enough. That is one thing I do need to see. I need the offensive line to get better over the next couple of years. So Poles has to
be not garbage.
But that's it. Besides my irateness that Torrey Taylor may not be kicking tonight, overall excited for today. Again, it's football. It's back.
Yeah, it's back, kinda. I'll stick with my kinda.
Anything we want to leave off before we get out of here, Danny?
No, just enjoy it and take Hard Knocks for what it is, guys. Remember, these NFL teams get kind of final say of what's cut in and what's cut out. Like the Giants is actually the most fun I've had watching it in years.
That was a great series until the last episode sucked. But
the last episode kind of sucked. But I do wonder how much of it now, looking back on it, the Giants really wanted out, because you see their draft board and who they have ranked and stuff. It's pretty cool. But that's really, if you're really talking about it, that's the coolest part about the NFL is the offseason and seeing how the sausage is made. Now, obviously, we all want to watch the games and see our teams do well, but it's really the intrigue of how they get to it's the process to the results.
I'm going to admit, Danny, there was literally a moment 2 days ago where I was like, I kind of miss the draft season. Like, I miss us talking about who Caleb was. I miss us talking about will Rome fall? Should the Bears get Rome? Do they need to tackle? Like, I miss that a little bit. As was weird as that sounds.
How do you not? And now we get to do we get to do it again, though, with waiver claims, because the Bears' overall roster still sucks.
You know how upset I am, by the way? Taj Washington, probably not going to be a waiver wire casualty because he's on IR. He's on IR for the freaking Dolphins. Yeah. What the hell?
Stupid. They needed Caleb's bestie. That's Taj.
I really did want him because that was my
I wanted
in my brain.
I wanted him so bad because it's like Caleb likes him. He returns kicks and punts. He's undrafted. Throw the undrafted bag at him, and they didn't do it.
Yeah,
so,
they got snagged in, I think it was like the 6th round or something.
Yeah.
All right, that's for real though. That is it. Enjoy tonight.
Bye,
Go
friends.
Ahead. Football be real, and so we'll be more regular now. We'll have, obviously, Danny will be here. Kyrie will potentially be here. I'm going to put him on blast. He's currently putting pickup basketball ahead of us right now. Not pickup, it's a league, but he's playing some basketball on Thursdays. We'll be more consistent on Thursdays throughout the preseason. Then, obviously, during the season, we'll do our traditional bare bones breakdowns. I will be doing a post-game show with a rotating cast of characters. Most of the weeks, I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not doing a Thanksgiving post bare bones, whatever.
Probably not Christmas week either.
Screw that. I love y'all, but I love my family more. So I will not be doing those episodes. But yeah, you get to hear me twice a week now. But yeah, that's it. Tear down.